Welcome to Blair, where the Labour Party is hosting its annual conference. This most controversial of events has attracted media attention from up and down the country. The alcohol bill has topped £20,000 and the cost of Sherry's Blair's dress is valued at £120,000, all paid for by the state.
£120,000, you see? Got mine £1.20 in Primark. Good old northern style.
Thank you, Hazel Blaze. Today I'll be going behind the scenes of Blair to get the inside information and find out the facts about our Prime Minister and his power.
What is power over the dark side, if you ask me?
That was Matteo, the barman, at this all-inclusive Blair resort. Now, let's go and speak to Mr. Blair if we can. Tony.
Well, first of all, I've appointed 13 so-called cronies. I wanted to ensure that Labour had a new direction, and therefore I've appointed mainly those that fit into my new Labour idea. It has also let me remind you that my divine right is to appoint Labour peers in the House of Lords, such as Lord Irvine or Lord Faulkner.
Well, this made the Lords very much Labour leading.
Did I hear the word peerage? Listen, the reason why I did it was not for the missus, as people say. I had an opportunity to change the world here. Planet Prescott. Another pina colada over here, darling.
Well, what was your role in the Labour Party?
Well, Tony said to me, look, Presser, we need to keep the working class left wing of the Labour Party happy. And a hearty northerner like me, who hasn't got time for those Tory toffs, the House of Lords, and is more of a Smirnoff socialist than a Champagne socialist, would relate to them.
Well, thank you, Mr. Prescott, but I hardly think your actions always match your left-wing principles.
Listen here, Robinson, you're gonna get a punch if you carry on the way you do.
Well, Lord Prescott, we're not in Blackburn anymore.
Right, that's it!
Well, Mr. Blair, how would you describe your leadership of both the party and of the country as a whole?
I'm often referred to as an egoist. I have been portrayed as leading in a selfish way to stay in power. My three main principles have always been education, education and education. Whilst I made so many constitutional reforms, they were not for the general well-being of the populace, more personal appeal and power. But I have definitely divulged power, particularly economic policy, which the then Chancellor, Gordon Brown, ran by himself, so I can blame him for all the mess.
Right, Mr. Blair, the Cabinet.
Well, I reorganised and renamed the Department for Work and Pensions and the Department for Education and Skills that I created. I also created the Office of Deputy Prime Minister.
Senores, can I just say, this is no way to act in a five-star hotel like Blair. But I've got something to tell you. I'm not Matteo. I'm William Hague.
Well, this is a perfect opportunity. What was the public perception of Mr. Blair, his public standing?
Well, that was a great question. The point is, Mr. Murdoch's media and press giant switched in the mid-90s to supporting Blair, really improving his public standing. His honeymoon period also lasted such a long time, till about 2002. It was the 2003 invasion of Iraq which changed Mr. Blair's standing.
Well, here's Mr. Brown. How did Mr. Blair change his cabinet?
Tony, the bastard, well, he set up the Department of Constitutional Affairs, and in 2007 he supported plans to create a new Department of Justice. In a reshuffle in 2004, Blair attempted rather a bigoted kind of way to abolish the office of the Lord Chancellor, but then discovered, after he had announced that he had done so, that he required, uniquely in this case, an Act of Parliament to do it. So he was forced to make a hurried change to his plans. I said at the time I agreed with Nick in the rhetoric of the opposition by denouncing Blair as a filthy bigot. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Brown. First, Blair tended to work with a strong team in Downing Street who enjoyed his trust and with whom he conducted business in an extremely informal way. Some critics have argued that his personal advisors had enjoyed more power than the cabinet ministers. Anthony Adonis in the Downing Street Policy Unit, for example, being the real power behind the government educational policy. But this informality and tendency to work now within an inner ring of trusted friends is not new. Most post-war Prime Ministers have worked in this way, although Blair may have taken it furthest than others did. Second, Blair certainly ran the cabinet down in status, at least in terms of the formal meetings. Although this continues as a trend first observed in the 1960s by Richard Crossman, Blair took it to a new level. The way in which the Attorney General's advice on the legality of the war with Iraq was not even discussed in the cabinet, and not even given to cabinet ministers in its full form, symbolises this very well. Third, Blair shared his power with another extremely powerful minister, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, who was, broadly speaking, given control over most aspects of domestic policy, and even latterly made some forays into the foreign area, visiting Africa in 2006. This duopoly at the heart of British government is virtually unique in modern politics.